The knife was already at Jessica's throat when she realized her ex-boyfriend had found her. She'd been fumbling with her apartment keys, exhausted from her double shift at the diner, when Daniel's hand clamped over her mouth from behind. The blade pressed cold against her skin as he dragged her backwards into the stairwell, away from the third-floor hallway of her new Los Angeles apartment building. "Did you really think a restraining order would stop me?" Daniel's breath was hot against her ear, reeking of whiskey and rage. 3 months, Jessica. 3 months you made me look for you. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Jessica's keys clattered to the concrete steps. Her heart hammered so violently she thought it might burst through her chest. This was it. This was how she died. In a stairwell 3,000 miles from home, in a city where nobody even knew her real name. "I loved you," Daniel hissed, and the knife bit deeper. Jessica felt a warm trickle of blood slide down her neck. "I gave you everything, and you threw it away like trash. You embarrassed me. Made me look weak in front of everyone." She couldn't breathe with his hand crushing her mouth. Couldn't scream. Couldn't fight. Her self-defense classes had taught her moves, but her body had frozen, locked in the same paralysis that had kept her trapped with him for 2 years. Then the stairwell door burst open. A man stood silhouetted in the doorway, tall and broad-shouldered, his face partially obscured by shadow. He took in the scene with unsettling calm, as if he walked in on violent assaults every day. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost gentle, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Let her go." Daniel's grip tightened. "Mind your business, man. This is between me and my girl." "She's not your girl." The man stepped fully into the stairwell, and the light finally hit his face. He was Korean, probably late 20s, with sharp features and eyes that looked like they'd seen things that would break most people. He wore an expensive black suit despite the late hour, and his hands hung relaxed at his sides. "And this is my building. That makes it my business." I said back off. Daniel yanked Jessica harder against him, the knife shaking in his hand. She could feel his desperation, his unraveling. He was high on something. Pills maybe. He always got sloppy when he mixed his product with alcohol. The Korean man's expression didn't change. "I'm going to give you one chance to walk away. Take it." Daniel laughed, a manic sound that echoed off the concrete walls. "Or what? You going to call the cops?" "Go ahead. I'll slit her throat before they get here." I wasn't planning to call the police. Something in the man's tone made Daniel hesitate. Jessica felt his grip loosen just slightly, his attention divided between her and this stranger who showed absolutely no fear. The Korean man moved. Jessica barely saw it happen. One moment he was standing 5 feet away, the next he was beside them, his hand locked around Daniel's wrist with a knife. There was a sharp crack. Daniel screamed, and suddenly Jessica was free, stumbling forward as the knife clattered down the stairs. She spun around in time to see the stranger slam Daniel against the wall with enough force to crack the plaster. One hand pinned Daniel's broken wrist, the other pressed against his throat. "You have 10 seconds to tell me if anyone else is coming for her," the man said, his voice still eerily calm. "Lie to me, and I'll throw you down these stairs. Head first." Daniel's face had gone purple, his working hand clawing uselessly at the iron grip on his throat. Just me. Nobody else knows." "Good." The stranger leaned in closer. "Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave Los Angeles tonight. If you contact her again, if you even think about her, I'll find you. And what I do to you will make you wish you died in this stairwell. Do you understand?" Daniel managed a terrified nod. The stranger released him, and Daniel crumpled to the ground, cradling his shattered wrist, gasping for air. Without another word, the Korean man grabbed him by the collar and dragged him down the stairs like he weighed nothing. Jessica heard the building's front door slam, then silence. She stood frozen in the stairwell, her hand pressed against the cut on her neck, her entire body shaking. What the hell just happened? Who was that man? And why did he move like violence was as natural to him as breathing? Have you ever been saved by a stranger who scared you almost as much as the person they saved you from? Drop a comment below and smash that subscribe button because you need to hear what happens next. The stairwell door opened again and Jessica flinched, but it was him, the stranger. He was wiping his hands with a handkerchief, his suit still immaculate despite whatever he'd done to Daniel outside. "You're bleeding," he observed, his eyes moving to her neck. "I'm Fina." Jessica's voice came out hoarse. She pressed harder against the cut. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't." "You live in 307. He didn't wait for her answer, just picked up her fallen keys and handed them to her. "I'm next door. 309. Her neighbor. The one she'd never seen in the 2 weeks since she'd moved in. The one whose apartment always seemed to have people coming and going at strange hours, expensive cars idling outside at 3 in the morning. I'm Song Kang, he said. Then he started back up the stairs, clearly expecting her to follow. Jessica's legs felt like water as she climbed the stairs behind Song Kang. Her mind was racing, trying to process what had just happened. Daniel had found her. After all her careful planning, all her precautions, he'd tracked her down like she'd never left Atlanta at all. And this stranger, this neighbor she'd never met, had broken her ex-boyfriend's wrist like snapping a twig. You should clean that cut, Song Kang said when they reached the 3rd floor. He pulled out his own keys, unlocking his door. I have a first aid kit. Every instinct screamed at Jessica to refuse, to lock herself in her own apartment and never come out. But her hands were shaking too badly to get her key in the lock, and the cut on her neck was still bleeding. She needed to sit down before she passed out. Okay, she whispered. His apartment was nothing like she expected. She'd imagined something sparse, cold, maybe filled with the kind of furniture that came with the place. Instead, it was immaculate and expensive. Leather furniture that probably cost more than her car. Abstract art on the walls that looked original. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city lights. A kitchen with marble countertops where a half-empty bottle of whiskey sat next to a crystal glass. Seat. Song Kang gestured to the couch and disappeared down a hallway. Jessica sat, her body finally catching up to the adrenaline crash. Her teeth started chattering despite the warmth of the apartment. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself, trying to stop the shaking. Song Kang returned with a first aid kit and a clean towel. He sat beside her, closer than she expected, and gently moved her hand away from her neck. His fingers were surprisingly gentle as he cleaned the wound, his face concentrated and serious. It's not deep, he said. Won't need stitches, but you should watch for infection. How do you know that? Jessica asked, then immediately regretted it. She wasn't sure she wanted to know why this man was so familiar with knife wounds. Experience. He applied antiseptic and she hissed at the sting. Your ex-boyfriend. Is he the reason you moved here? It wasn't really a question. Jessica nodded, unable to meet his eyes. I had a restraining order. I thought I was safe here. I don't know how he found me. Men like that always find a way. Song Kang placed a butterfly bandage over the cut with practiced precision. They're obsessive. Dangerous. They don't stop until someone makes them stop. And you made him stop. Jessica finally looked at him. Up close, she could see a thin scar running along his jawline, barely visible. His eyes were dark and unreadable, the kind of eyes that kept secrets. Why? You don't even know me. You're my neighbor. That's enough. He packed up the first aid kit, his movements efficient. And I don't like men who put their hands on women. There was something in his tone, an edge of controlled fury, that made Jessica think this was personal for him somehow. She wanted to ask, but the words stuck in her throat. He said he was alone, Song Kang continued, standing up and walking to the window. Do you believe him? Jessica thought about it. Daniel had always been a solo operator, too paranoid to trust anyone else with his business. His drug dealing was small time, just enough to feed his own habits and maintain his lifestyle. He didn't have the kind of connections that would help him track someone across the country. Yeah, she said. I think he was telling the truth. Daniel doesn't work with other people. He's too controlling for that. Good. Song Kang turned back to face her, and something in his expression had shifted. He looked almost concerned. But you should know, what I did tonight will only buy you time. If he's as obsessed as he seems, he'll come back. Or he'll send someone else. What are you saying? I'm saying you need real protection. Not a piece of paper from a judge. Real protection. He moved to the bar cart and poured himself a drink. How did he find you? Jessica's mind raced through the possibilities she'd been turning over for weeks. I don't know. I was so careful. New phone, new number. I deleted all my social media. Only my sister knows where I am. Your sister? Song Kang raised an eyebrow. Angela would never tell him. Never. Jessica's voice was fierce. She hates him more than I do. She begged me to leave for months before I finally did. Then he tracked you another way. Your car, maybe. Or he hired someone. Song Kang took a sip of his whiskey. People are easier to find than you think when someone's motivated enough. The thought made Jessica's stomach turn. Her car. She'd driven across the country, never thinking about GPS or tracking devices. Daniel was tech-savvy when he wanted to be, always checking her phone, monitoring her locations. It would have been easy for him to plant something. I need to check my car, she said, standing up too quickly. The room tilted and Song Kang was there instantly, his hand on her elbow, steadying her. Not tonight. Tonight you rest. I'll have someone check your car tomorrow. Someone. Jessica looked up at him. Who are you? Really? Song Kang smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm someone who can help you. If you let me. There was a weight to those words, a suggestion of something much bigger than a good Samaritan neighbor doing a favor. Jessica's journalist instincts, rusty from months of survival mode, finally kicked in. The expensive apartment. The way he'd handled Daniel like a professional. The calm in the face of violence. The way he said he'd have someone check her car. "You're not just a regular guy, are you?" she asked quietly. "If you're wondering what kind of man Kang really is, you're not alone. Comment below what you think he does for a living, and hit that like button because this story is about to get even more intense." Kang set down his glass and looked at her with those unreadable eyes. "No," Kang said simply. "I'm not a regular guy." The admission hung in the air between them. Jessica's heart rate picked up again, but this time it wasn't from fear of Daniel. This was a different kind of fear, the kind that came from realizing you'd just invited a predator to help you escape another predator. "Should I be scared of you?" The question came out before she could stop it. Kang considered this, tilting his head slightly. "That depends on who you are. Are you a threat to me or my people?" "No, I'm just a waitress trying to survive." "Then no, you shouldn't be scared of me." He moved back to the couch, gesturing for her to sit again. "But you should understand what accepting my help means." Jessica remained standing. "What does it mean?" "It means I protect you. Completely. Your ex-boyfriend won't touch you again. He won't call, won't text, won't come within 100 miles of you." Kang's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. "But it also means you'll owe me. Not money, not anything like that. But loyalty, discretion. You see things in this building, hear things, you forget them immediately. Understand? Things like what? Like the conversation you heard in the hallway last week. The one in Korean at 5 in the morning." Kang watched her face carefully. "You were pressed against your door, listening. I could see your shadow under the gap." Jessica's blood ran cold. She thought she was being quiet, careful. "I didn't understand what was being said." "I know, but you were curious." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Curiosity is dangerous in my world, Jessica. It gets people hurt. So if I help you, I need to know you can control that curiosity. That you can live next door to me and mind your business." "What world?" Jessica knew she was pushing, knew she should just agree and leave, but she couldn't help herself. 2 years of living with Daniel had taught her that walking into situations blind was how you got trapped. "What do you do?" Kang was quiet for a long moment, studying her. Then he stood and walked to a cabinet near the window, pulling out a business card. He handed it to her. The card was expensive, embossed. "Park Enterprises. Import-Export. Kang Park, Managing Director." "You're a businessman," Jessica said slowly. "Among other things." Kang took the card back. "My family has interests in various industries. Restaurants, real estate, shipping. All legitimate. All legal. But business in Los Angeles is complicated. There are rules that exist outside the law. Territories. Arrangements. Sometimes problems arise that can't be solved in boardrooms." His eyes locked onto hers. "I solve those problems." Jessica's hands were shaking again. She'd heard stories, seen movies. Korean organized crime. The Mafia. She thought it was exaggerated, Hollywood fiction. But standing here in this pristine apartment with this calm, dangerous man, she understood it was very real. "So you're telling me I'm telling you I can protect you," Kang interrupted. "That's all you need to know. Your ex-boyfriend is a small-time dealer with a big ego and no real power. I have resources he can't imagine. I can make you disappear, so completely he'll think you never existed." "Why would you do that for me? We're strangers." Kang's expression shifted, something almost vulnerable crossing his face before the mask slipped back into place. "My mother was in a situation like yours once. A man who wouldn't let her go, who hurt her because he thought he owned her." He turned back to the window, his shoulders tense. "My father stopped him, permanently. That's how they met." Jessica absorbed this information, trying to reconcile the violence of that story with the strange gentleness Kang had shown her. "What happened to the man?" "He disappeared. No body was ever found." Kang said it without emotion. "My mother got to live, got to raise me and my sister in peace. That's all that mattered." The implication was clear. Kang wasn't just offering protection. He was offering a permanent solution, the kind that involved people disappearing and questions never being answered. "I don't want Daniel dead," Jessica said quickly. "I just want him to leave me alone. I want my life back." "Then that's what you'll get." Kang turned back to her. "I'll have someone sweep your car for tracking devices tomorrow. We'll get you a new phone, new email. I'll have people watching to make sure he doesn't come back. You won't even know they're there. And what do you want in return?" "I told you. Loyalty, discretion, and maybe—" He paused, something shifting in his expression. "Maybe just don't look at me like I'm a monster. I get enough of that." The vulnerability in those words surprised Jessica. Here was a man who broke bones without flinching, who talked about making people disappear like discussing grocery shopping, and somehow he cared what she thought of him. "I don't think you're a monster," Jessica said softly. "Monsters don't save people in stairwells." Something flickered in Song Kang's eyes. Relief, maybe, or recognition. You'd be surprised what monsters do when no one's watching. A phone buzzed loudly in the silence. Song Kang pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor changed. The softness vanished, replaced by cold authority. "I need to take this. You should get some rest." He walked her to the door, and, as she stepped into the hallway, he added, "Lock your door. All 3 locks. If you hear anything unusual tonight, call me." He pressed another card into her hand, this one with just a phone number. "Anytime. I mean it." Are you Team Song Kang, or do you think Jessica should run far away from both these dangerous men? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next part is going to blow your mind. Jessica barely slept that night. Every sound made her jump. Every creak of the old building sent her heart racing. She kept expecting Daniel to break down her door, or worse, for Song Kang's people to decide she knew too much. Around 4 in the morning, she finally passed out from exhaustion, still fully clothed on top of her mattress. She woke to someone knocking on her door. Jessica shot up, grabbing the scissors she'd placed under her pillow. The knock came again, polite but insistent. She crept to the peephole and saw a young Korean woman standing in the hallway, holding a white paper bag and a coffee cup. "Jessica," the woman called out. "Song Kang sent me. My name is Minji. I'm here to help with your car." Jessica opened the door cautiously, keeping the chain lock engaged. The woman was probably mid-20s, petite, wearing designer jeans and a leather jacket. She had kind eyes and a warm smile that immediately put Jessica slightly at ease. "I'm not going to hurt you," Minji said, holding up the bag. "I brought breakfast and coffee. Song Kang said you probably didn't sleep much." Jessica unhooked the chain and let her in. Minji moved through the apartment with easy confidence, setting the food on the kitchen counter like she'd done this 100 times before. "Egg sandwich and a latte. 2 sugars, right?" Minji pulled items from the bag. Song Kang is weirdly good at reading people. It's annoying sometimes. "How does he know how I take my coffee?" Jessica asked, bewildered. "He notices things, details most people miss." Minji handed her the coffee. "It's how he stays alive in his line of work. Now eat. Then we'll deal with your car situation." Jessica took a bite of the sandwich, suddenly ravenous. She hadn't eaten since her shift yesterday, before Daniel had ambushed her. "What exactly do you do for Song Kang?" "I handle problems." Quietly, Minji pulled out a small electronic device from her jacket pocket. "I'm also really good with technology, which is why I'm here." "Where's your car parked?" "Street parking. 2 blocks down. It's a blue Honda Civic." "Keys." Jessica retrieved them from her purse. Minji pocketed them and headed for the door. "Stay here. Lock the door behind me. I'll be back in 20 minutes. "Wait, shouldn't I come with you?" Minji turned, her expression serious. "Daniel could be watching your car, waiting to see if you check it. If I go alone, I'm just someone stealing a Honda. If you're with me, he knows we're onto him. Better he thinks he still has the element of surprise." The logic made sense, but Jessica hated feeling helpless. She'd spent 2 years being controlled by Daniel, told where to go and what to do. Now here she was, taking orders from strangers again, even if they were trying to help. "How long have you worked for Song Kang?" Jessica asked. 3 years. He saved my brother from a gambling debt that would have gotten him killed." Minji's expression softened. "Song Kang isn't like the other bosses. He actually cares about the people in his territory. That's rare in this business." "Is he dangerous?" "Very, but only to people who deserve it." Minji opened the door. 20 minutes. Don't open this door for anyone but me." Jessica locked the door behind her and paced the apartment, eating her sandwich without tasting it. Her phone sat on the counter, the new one she'd bought when she got to L.A., and she stared at it, wondering if she should call her sister. Angela deserved to know what happened. But what would she say? That she was now under the protection of a Korean Mafia boss? That her neighbor had broken Daniel's wrist in a stairwell and promised to make her disappear? Her old phone was in a drawer, turned off and wrapped in aluminum foil like she'd read online. Paranoid maybe, but after last night, paranoia felt justified. She pulled it out, unwrapped it, and powered it on for the first time in 2 weeks. 67 missed calls, all from blocked numbers. 43 text messages, increasingly unhinged. The most recent was from yesterday afternoon, hours before Daniel had shown up. "I'm coming for you tonight, Jessica. We're going to talk. Really talk. Like we used to. Remember when we used to talk? I miss that. I miss you. Why did you make me do this?" Jessica's hands shook as she scrolled through the messages. They were a timeline of Daniel's deteriorating mental state. At first, they were angry, then pleading, then threatening, then cycling through all three emotions in a single message. He was spiraling, and she was his anchor point, the thing he blamed for all his problems. The door knocked again. Jessica jumped, nearly dropping the phone. "It's Minji. Open up." Jessica let her in. Minji held up a small black device, about the size of a quarter. GPS tracker. Magnetic. Attached to your undercarriage. Pretty standard model. You could buy them on Amazon for $40. So that's how he found me. That's how he found you. Minji set it on the counter. I disabled it. Far as Daniel knows, you're still parked on that street. I also swept the rest of your car. No cámaras, no audio devices. Just the tracker. Jessica stared at the small piece of technology that had destroyed her sense of safety. What do we do with it? We use it. Minji smiled, and there was something sharp in that smile. Kang wants to send Daniel a message. We're going to put this tracker on a truck heading to Seattle. Let your ex-boyfriend chase ghosts for a while. Will that work? It'll buy time. Confuse him. Make him second-guess himself. Minji pulled out Jessica's phone. But we need to deal with your communication issue, too. He's got your number. Probably got other ways to track you digitally. I'm going to set you up with something more secure. What would you do if your ex was tracking you? Would you run, or would you fight back? Drop your thoughts below, and make sure you hit that like button, because things are about to get even crazier. Minji spent the next hour transforming Jessica's digital footprint. New phone number. Encrypted messaging apps. A VPN that masked her location. She even showed Jessica how to check for spyware and tracking software, walking her through the process with patient efficiency. Daniel sounds like the type who would have installed monitoring software on your old devices. Minji explained, scrolling through Jessica's old phone. These kinds of guys always do. They disguise it as love, as caring, but really it's about control. He used to say he just wanted to keep me safe. Jessica admitted quietly that the world was dangerous and he needed to know where I was. I believed him for so long. That's what they count on. Minji looked up from the phone, her expression empathetic. My brother's ex-girlfriend was the same way. By the time he realized what was happening, she'd isolated him from everyone who cared about him. It took Kang sitting him down and explaining exactly what emotional abuse looked like before he finally saw it. Jessica felt tears prick her eyes. She'd spent so long blaming herself, wondering what she'd done wrong, how she could have prevented Daniel's rages. Hearing someone else name it for what it was felt like absolution. Here, Minji handed back the old phone. 3 tracking apps. 2 keyloggers. 1 app that was mirroring all your messages to another device. Probably Daniel's. I've wiped everything. This phone is basically a brick now, but at least he can't use it to spy on you anymore. The violation of it made Jessica's skin crawl. Every private conversation, every location, every password. Daniel had seen it all. How long was he watching me? Based on the installation dates? At least 18 months. Jessica felt sick. A year and a half of her life, monitored and cataloged. No wonder she felt like she was losing her mind near the end, like she couldn't have a single private thought. I need some air, Jessica said, standing abruptly. Not alone, you don't. Minji grabbed her jacket. Kang's orders. You don't go anywhere without someone watching your back until we're sure Daniel got the message. I'm not a prisoner. No, you're not. You're a woman being stalked by a violent ex-boyfriend who already tried to kill you once. Minji's tone was firm, but not unkind. There's a difference between being protected and being controlled, Jessica. Kang isn't telling you what to do. He's making sure you live long enough to make your own choices. The distinction mattered. Jessica nodded and followed Minji out of the building. They walked to a small Korean cafe 3 blocks away, tucked between a laundromat and a tattoo parlor. The afternoon sun was warm on Jessica's face, and for the first time in months, she felt something close to normal. Just 2 women getting coffee. Nothing sinister or dangerous about it. Except Minji kept her hand in her jacket pocket the entire walk, and her eyes never stopped scanning the street. Inside the cafe, the owner greeted Minji in rapid Korean, his face lighting up. He was an older man, probably in his 60s, with kind eyes and flour dusting his apron. Minji responded in Korean, gesturing to Jessica, and the man's expression shifted to something protective. Mr. Cho says you're welcome here anytime, Minji translated. He's asking if you're the girl from last night. Word travels fast in this neighborhood. Jessica felt her face flush. What were people saying? That Kang broke some guy's arm for putting hands on a woman. That he threw him out of the building like garbage. Minji accepted 2 iced coffees from Mr. Cho. Around here, that makes you someone worth protecting. These people know what Kang does, but they also know he keeps them safe. The rent stays reasonable. The gangs don't cause trouble. People can run their businesses without paying protection money to every thug who walks through the door. So he's like, what? A guardian angel who breaks bones. Minya Loget. Something like that. Look, I'm not going to pretend Song Kang is a saint. He's done things that would horrify you. He's hurt people, probably killed people, though he never confirmed that to you. But he has a code. Women, children, innocent people, they're off limits. Anyone who violates that code answers to him. They sat at a corner table where Minji could watch the door. Jessica sipped her coffee, processing everything. A week ago, her biggest worry was whether she could afford next month's rent. Now she was under the protection of a crime boss, drinking coffee with his enforcer, learning about codes and territories like she'd fallen into a different world. Can I ask you something? Jessica said. Why is Song Kang so invested in this? In me? He doesn't owe me anything. Minji was quiet for a moment, stirring her coffee. His mom didn't just have one bad boyfriend. She had several. Song Kang grew up watching his mother get hurt over and over because she didn't have anyone to protect her. His dad didn't come into the picture until Song Kang was 8 years old. By then, he'd already seen too much. That's awful. It shaped him, made him who he is. Minji leaned forward. When he sees a woman in trouble, he doesn't see a stranger. He sees his mom. He sees his sister. He sees every woman who didn't have someone to stand between her and a monster. So yeah, he's invested. Maybe more than he should be. Jessica heard something in Minji's tone. You think he's making a mistake helping me? I think Song Kang has a weakness for broken things that need fixing. And in our world, weaknesses get people killed. Minji's eyes were serious. But I also think you might be different. You're not just a victim waiting to be saved. I can see it in your eyes. You're a fighter. You just forgot how to fight. Daniel made sure of that. Then maybe it's time to remember. Minji pulled something from her pocket and slid it across the table. A small canister of pepper spray. First lesson in taking your power back. Next time someone comes at you, you don't freeze. You fight. Jessica picked up the pepper spray, feeling its weight in her hand. It was such a small thing, but holding it made her feel less helpless. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're actually safe. Minji's phone buzzed. She checked it and frowned. We need to get back. Song Kang wants to see you. Have you ever had someone believe in you when you'd stop believing in yourself? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe because what Song Kang tells Jessica next changes everything. Song Kang was waiting in his apartment when they returned. He stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low, rapid Korean. His suit jacket was off, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, revealing surprisingly muscular forearms. When he saw them enter, he ended the call abruptly. We have a problem, he said without preamble. Jessica's stomach dropped. Daniel, your ex-boyfriend checked himself into an emergency room 2 hours ago. Broken wrist, some bruised ribs, minor concussion. Song Kang's expression was unreadable. He told the doctors he was mugged, gave descriptions that don't match me or anyone in my organization. But he also filed a police report. He's lying to cover his tracks, Minji said, arms crossed. Classic abuser move. Make himself look like the victim. Maybe. Or maybe he's smarter than we gave him credit for. Song Kang moved to the bar cart, poured himself a drink. The police report mentions his ex-girlfriend. Says he came to L.A. to reconcile, to make amends. That he was attacked while trying to deliver flowers to her apartment. Jessica felt rage burn through her chest. That's complete bullshit. He had a knife to my throat. I know, but he's creating a narrative. If something happens to him now, the police will look at you first. They'll see a restraining order, a history of conflict, and his hospital records showing injuries sustained in Los Angeles. Song Kang took a sip of whiskey. He's building reasonable doubt before he even commits his next crime. So what do we do? Jessica asked. You disappear. Really disappear. Song Kang set down his glass. New identity. New city. I have connections in Portland, Seattle, even Vancouver. I can set you up with housing, a job, everything you need to start over. This time, no digital trail. No way for him to find you. Jessica felt the walls closing in. Running again. Starting over again. Being erased again. For how long? A year? 5 years? The rest of my life? When does it end? When he stops looking? Or when he can't look anymore? The implication hung heavy in the air. No. Jessica's voice was firm. I'm not running again. I'm not spending the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, changing my name, pretending to be someone I'm not. That's not living. That's just a different kind of prison. Song Kang studied her, something like respect flickering in his eyes. Then what do you want to do? I want to face him. I want to be the one with power for once. Jessica's hands clenched into fists. You said you could protect me. So protect me here. Let him come. Let him try. And when he does, I want to be ready. Minji looked at Song Kang, eyebrows raised. Song Kang was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, but if we're doing this, we do it my way. That means you follow my instructions. All of them. No arguments. What kind of instructions? First, you move out of your apartment. Tonight, you stay here where I can keep an eye on you. Song Kang held up a hand when Jessica started to protest. I have a guest room. You'll have privacy. But your apartment has one exit and thin walls. It's indefensible. This place has security, reinforced doors, sight lines. If Daniel comes here, we'll see him coming. Jessica's mind raced. Moving in with Song Kang felt like crossing a line she couldn't uncross. But he was right. Her apartment was a trap waiting spring. What else? You learn to defend yourself. Real defense, not the basics they teach in those women's safety courses. Minji will train you. Boxing, knife defense, situational awareness. If Daniel gets his hands on you again, you need to be able to hurt him badly enough to get away. I can do that, Jessica said, though her voice wavered slightly. Third, you let me handle the legal side. I have lawyers, good ones. We'll document everything. The knife wound, his harassment, the tracking device. We'll build a case so airtight that when this is over, Daniel won't just be scared of me. He'll be scared of the entire legal system crushing him. You think that'll work? The legal system failed me before. That's why I ran. Song Kang's expression darkened. The legal system fails when people try to navigate alone. When you have money, resources, lawyers who know how to make judges listen, it works differently. Trust me. Jessica wanted to argue that it shouldn't work that way, that justice shouldn't depend on how much money you had or who you knew. But she was exhausted from being idealistic. She wanted results, not principles. Okay, she said. I'll do it your way. Good. Song Kang pulled out his phone. Minji, get her things moved over here. Everything she needs for the next few weeks. And sweep her apartment again. I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Minji nodded and left. The apartment suddenly felt very small, with just Jessica and Song Kang in it. Why are you really doing this? Jessica asked. And don't give me the story about your mother. This is more than that. Song Kang turned back to the window, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. You want the truth? I'm tired of watching people get hurt by small men with big egos. You're Daniel. He's nothing. In my world, he wouldn't last a day. But out there in the regular world, he's terrorized you for years. Made you afraid to live your own life. That's not right. You're not exactly a regular citizen yourself. No, I'm not. But I understand power dynamics. I understand that violence isn't always wrong. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's justice. He turned to face her. Your legal system says Daniel gets counseling and a restraining order. My system says he gets his wrist broken and a promise of worse if he comes back. Which one kept you safer? Jessica couldn't argue with that. The restraining order had been worthless. Song Kang's violence had been immediate and effective. It made her uncomfortable how much sense his logic made. I'm not asking you to become like me, Song Kang continued. But I'm asking you to let go of the idea that playing by the rules will save you. Daniel doesn't play by the rules, so neither will we. Would you trust Song Kang's methods or stick with the legal system? Let us know in the comments and smash that subscribe button. 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Jessica trained with Minji every morning, learning how to throw punches that actually landed, how to break holds, how to spot danger before it reached her. Her body ached constantly, muscles she didn't know she had screaming in protest, but she felt stronger, more solid, like she was inhabiting her own skin for the first time in years. Song Kang's lawyers filed a comprehensive case against Daniel. Assault with a deadly weapon, stalking, violation of a restraining order across state lines, electronic harassment. The evidence was overwhelming, and the lawyers were relentless. Within 2 weeks, there was a warrant out for Daniel's arrest in California. But Daniel had vanished. The GPS tracker had led him on a wild chase to Seattle, where he'd apparently spent 3 days searching before realizing he'd been played. After that, silence. Song Kang's people were watching, waiting. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time. He'll come back, Song Kang said one evening. They were in his living room, Jessica curled up on the couch with a book, Song Kang reviewing security footage on his laptop. Men like him always do. They can't help themselves. I know. Jessica set down her book. I'm ready this time. Song Kang looked at her, and something soft crossed his face. You've changed. Since that first night. You've noticed. I notice everything about you. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning neither of them was quite ready to acknowledge. Jessica's phone buzzed. Her new, secure phone that only 3 people had the number to. She picked it up, and her blood went cold. A text from an unknown number. A photo attached. It was her, taken today, walking into Mr. Cho's cafe with Minji. The message below read, "New phone won't save you. See you soon, baby." Song Kang was beside her instantly, taking the phone. His jaw tightened as he studied the image. He made a call, speaking rapid Korean, his tone sharp with command. "He's still in the city," Song Kang said after hanging up. "That photo was taken 4 hours ago. He's getting sloppy, desperate, making mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" "He used a burner phone to send that text, but he did it from a location with cameras. My people are pulling footage now." Song Kang's eyes were cold, calculating. "He's also been asking around the neighborhood, showing your picture, offering money for information. Someone will talk. They always do." Jessica felt her stomach twist. "What happens when you find him?" Song Kang looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something dark flicker across his face. Something that reminded her exactly who he was. "I'm going to teach him what happens when someone threatens what's mine." The possessiveness in those words should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safe. 2 days later, Song Kang got the call he'd been waiting for. Daniel had been spotted at a motel 6 blocks away, strung out and paranoid, paying cash for a room. He'd been asking the clerk about the building, about the Korean guy who lived there, about security. The clerk, who happened to be the cousin of one of Song Kang's restaurant managers, had called it in immediately. "I'm going to handle this," Song Kang said, already pulling on his jacket. "You stay here with Minji." "No." Jessica stood up. "I want to be there. I need to see this end." "Jessica, you said I needed to take my power back. You said I needed to stop being afraid." Her voice was firm. "I can't do that hiding in your apartment while you handle this for me. I need to face him. I need him to see that I'm not afraid anymore." Song Kang studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You stay in the car. You watch from distance. If things go wrong, Minji gets you out." "Understood." "Understood." They drove to the motel in Song Kang's black Mercedes, Minji in the passenger seat, Jessica in the back. 2 more cars followed, filled with Song Kang's people. The motel was a dump, the kind of place that rented by the hour and didn't ask questions. Daniel's car, the same beat-up Toyota he'd driven in Atlanta, was parked outside room 117. Song Kang parked where Jessica would have a clear view. He turned to face her. "Whatever you see in there, whatever I do, remember why I'm doing it. Remember what he did to you. What he would have done if I hadn't stopped him." Jessica nodded, her heart pounding. Song Kang and 4 of his men approached the motel room. One of them picked the lock with practiced ease. They entered fast, and through the open door Jessica could see Daniel scrambling off the bed, reaching for something on the nightstand. A gun. But Song Kang was faster. He crossed the room in 3 strides and slammed Daniel against the wall before his fingers even touched the weapon. One of Song Kang's men secured the gun while the others blocked the exit. Song Kang dragged Daniel outside into the parking lot, into the light where Jessica could see everything. Daniel was a mess. Gaunt, hollow-eyed, his cast filthy and crumbling. He reeked of desperation and something chemical. Pills probably. Or meth. "You've been looking for me?" Song Kang's voice was conversational, almost pleasant. "Here I am." Daniel's eyes darted around, looking for escape, for help, for anything. Then he saw Jessica in the car, and his face twisted into something ugly. "Jessica, baby, please. Tell him to let me go. I just want to talk to you. I just want." Song Kang's fist crashed into Daniel's stomach, cutting off his words. Daniel doubled over, gasping. "You don't get to talk to her. You don't get to look at her. You don't even get to think about her." Song Kang grabbed Daniel's already broken wrist and squeezed. Daniel screamed. This is what happens when you don't listen the first time. There was a crack. Daniel's scream pitched higher. Song Kang had re-broken the wrist, the bones grinding against each other. "Please," Daniel sobbed. "Please, I'll leave. I'll go back to Atlanta. I won't contact her again. I promise. You promised before. In that stairwell. Remember?" Song Kang's voice was ice. "I told you what would happen if you came back. Did you think I was joking?" Song Kang forced Daniel to his knees in the parking lot. The motel's flickering neon sign cast strange shadows across them, making the scene feel surreal, like something out of a nightmare. "You put a knife to her throat," Song Kang said, his voice still eerily calm. "You tracked her across the country. You terrorized her for years. And when I gave you a chance to walk away, you came back. I love her," Daniel whimpered, cradling his wrist. "You don't understand. I love her. That's not love." Song Kang crouched down at Daniel's eye level. "Love doesn't leave scars. Love doesn't make someone afraid to exist. What you feel is ownership, obsession, and I'm going to cure you of it." Song Kang grabbed Daniel's other hand, the unbroken one, and spread his fingers flat against the concrete. Daniel's eyes went wide with terror. "No, no, please don't." Song Kang looked back at Jessica in the car, a silent question in his eyes. This was her choice. Her moment. She could stop this, ask for mercy, let the legal system handle Daniel. Or she could let Song Kang do what the law never could. Make absolutely certain Daniel never touched her again. Jessica thought about the years of fear. The bruises hidden under makeup. The nights sleeping in her car because going home meant facing Daniel's rage. The way he'd isolated her from friends, from family, from herself. The knife at her throat in the stairwell. She didn't nod, didn't give explicit permission, but she didn't look away either. And Song Kang understood. The first finger broke with a sound like a twig snapping. Daniel's scream echoed off the motel walls. Then the second finger, the third. Song Kang worked methodically, precisely, breaking each finger at the joint with surgical accuracy. Not enough to permanently cripple, but enough to ensure Daniel would remember this moment every time he tried to make a fist for the rest of his life. "You will never touch her again," Song Kang said between breaks. "You will never call her, never text her, never think about her. Because if you do, I will find you. And next time, it won't be your fingers." By the time Song Kang finished, Daniel was a sobbing mess on the ground, both hands mangled, his spirit completely shattered. The man who'd once terrorized Jessica was now reduced to a broken, whimpering shell. Song Kang stood, wiping his hands on a handkerchief. He nodded to his men. "Get him cleaned up. Drive him to the airport. Put him on a flight to Atlanta. If he misses the flight, break something else." "Yes, boss." Song Kang walked back to the car and slid into the driver's seat. His knuckles were bruised, but his expression was calm, almost peaceful. He looked at Jessica in the rearview mirror. "Are you okay?" Jessica realized she was shaking, but not from fear. From relief. From the weight of years finally lifting off her chest. "I should be horrified. I should be disgusted by what you just did. But you're not." "No." Jessica met his eyes in the mirror. "I am grateful. Does that make me a bad person?" "It makes you human." Song Kang started the car. The law would have given him probation, maybe a year or two if you were lucky. He would have gotten out and come back. Men like Daniel always do. Now he won't. Now he's too afraid. Minji turned in her seat, looking at Jessica with understanding. "You don't have to feel guilty for wanting the violence to stop. Sometimes peace only comes after war." They drove back to the building in silence. When they got upstairs, Jessica's legs finally gave out. She sat on Song Kang's couch, her whole body trembling with the aftershock of adrenaline. Song Kang poured her a glass of water and sat beside her, close but not touching. "He's gone," Song Kang said softly. "Really gone. My people will make sure he gets on that plane, and they'll be watching him in Atlanta. If he so much as buys a bus ticket to California, I'll know. What if he goes to the police? Tells them what you did? With what proof? A motel with no cameras that keeps no records? Fingers he broke falling down drunk." Song Kang's smile was thin. "And even if he did, do you think he wants to explain to the police why he was in Los Angeles with a gun and your address? With an active warrant for his arrest?" Jessica knew he was right. Daniel's hands were broken, but his spirit was more shattered. He'd never risk facing Song Kang again. The fear in his eyes had been absolute. "Thank you," Jessica whispered, "for doing what I couldn't." "You can have," Song Kang said, surprising her. "The woman you've become these past 3 weeks? She could have handled Daniel herself. But you didn't have to. That's what I'm here for." Jessica looked at him, really looked at him. This man who broke bones without flinching, who ran a criminal empire, who spoke of violence like discussing the weather, but who also noticed how she took her coffee, who gave her space to heal, who asked permission with his eyes before crossing lines he couldn't uncross. "Who are you really, Song Kang?" "I'm someone who does terrible things for good reasons," he said simply. "I'm someone who understands that the world isn't black and white, that sometimes the only way to stop a monster is to be a bigger monster." "And what does that make me? For accepting your help? For watching what you did and feeling relieved instead of horrified? It makes you a survivor." Song Kang finally reached out, his bruised hand covering hers. "It makes you someone who chose to live instead of being a victim. There's no shame in that." Jessica's phone buzzed. A message from Angela. The police called. Daniel bought a one-way ticket to Atlanta. They're watching for him at the airport. "Are you okay?" Jessica texted back. "I'm more than okay. I'm free." And for the first time in years, she meant it. If you've ever wished someone would fight for you the way Song Kang fought for Jessica, drop a comment below. Hit that subscribe button because we have more intense stories coming your way. And remember, you deserve to feel safe. You deserve to be free. Thank you for watching.